Hi, friend! Won't you come through the garden gate? You're invited to join us for our gardening and old home show. I'm Laura, here's Dan, and this is our sweet Jackson. We're so glad you decided to come through the garden gate. On today's episode, we are planting so many beautiful things. Flowers, vegetables, shrubs, you name it. All of our gardens here at Lilybrook are getting planted up for the gardening season. We'll take a walk through the gardens and see what's in bloom. And then we'll travel to a beautiful oasis, a fairy tale of a garden. And I'll share with you which book is really inspiring me this week. All that and so much more on this episode of Through the Garden Gate. We'd love to have you as a friend. Please hit that subscribe button. Hi friends, I'm so glad you decided to come through my garden gate. I'm Laura and welcome to Lilybrook. The perennials have started to make their return back in my garden, and I've started planting up some annuals as well. And I want to finish this up today so that we can mulch all of these beds. And that is why my porch currently looks like this. I have so many plants that I want to put in my gardens here. I have these beautiful zinnias, and every year I put these in. These are the Starlight Rose, and I love them. They stay compact, so they're great for the front of a garden. And of course, I have some cosmos and snapdragons. Oh my gosh, look at all those beautiful colors. Look at the hostas behind them. Aren't those gorgeous? I've got my black-eyed Susan vines that I picked up. And guys, this is my first year planting an elephant ear. Now I am in zone 7A, so this is an annual where I live, unless I can manage to dig it up and put it in the greenhouse, which I'm gonna try. But I always wanted to try an elephant ear. I just thought they were the coolest things. And I got some coleuses. There's a bunch that needs to go into the gardens today. Next, I'm going to be planting up these gorgeous cosmos in my gardens. I love my gardens to look like cottage gardens, and cosmos fit the bill. While I'm busy planting these up, I'd love to show you guys the other projects we've been working on at Lilybrook this week. We started our week's work in the Topiary garden. This garden isn't very old, and we just planted this third row here of boxwoods this spring. So they haven't grown together yet, but I'm hopeful by the end of the gardening season, we'll see a lot of growth out of those. I also planted some little tiny baby daisies here, and they're holding their own. I started them late in the greenhouse, but they are holding their own, so I'm happy about that. And I decided to plant about 40 oxeye daisies here between the second and third ring of boxwoods. I picked the oxeye daisies because they're prolific, they're really hardy and easy to care for. I thought it would look lovely to have one color of something here. So white was what I picked, and these guys can tolerate some part sun, which this area gets. So I think they're going to do well here, and I'm excited to see them when they're all filled in. And now for Dan's favorite task of the day. We have to trim up these boxwoods. The first and second ring of boxwoods put on a ton of growth, which is awesome, but we want this to look really neat and polished. So he went along and trimmed up those two rings so that you could see the hydrangeas, and everything just looked really polished and nice. And I just know when this grows in, this is going to be such a beautiful garden. Jackson, however, thinks it's a racetrack. Now that that topiary garden is done, we can move on to Hillside. This garden leads up to our labyrinth. So I'd like to share with you guys the shrubs that we've decided to put in the garden here. Last year I planted 7 rows of Sharons along the border here of the deck, and I have to say they are so gorgeous when they bloom. I'm so impressed with this shrub. I had to have more from Proven Winners. So I ordered blue chiffon and pink chiffon rows of Sharon. I ordered several of those to put all throughout Hillside. I also picked up Star Blast, which I'm so excited to see bloom. I think the flowers on that are so gorgeous. And I also ordered magenta rose of Sharon. One of the other things I'm really excited that I ordered was the Boomerang Ballerina, I think it's called, Proven Winners reblooming lilac. And I've never had a reblooming lilac before. I'm really excited about that because I love lilacs. They're one of my favorite flowers and they smell incredible. They're great for bringing in for a cut flower arrangement. And so I ordered several of those here for Hillside Garden. I also picked up some Simply Sensational sweet shrub. So I love gardening so much, obviously, but sometimes gardens are more of a necessity than even just because they're pretty. And I tried to split the difference with this particular garden. This garden is on a hill, so it was a real bear to mow. And when we decided we were just going to make it a garden instead, so we didn't have to mow on the hill, we turned it into a wildflower garden, and the weeds were just insane in this area. So we revised our plan. We put down heavy weed control, we mulched, and decided to put down some beautiful flowering shrubs. There, problem solved. I think you need to choose your weeding wisely. There's only 2 of us to do all of this work, and I still want to have time to stop and smell the flowers. So friends, that's what we've been busy doing this week in our gardens. Weeding, planting, and now today, finishing up with planting some annuals and mulching all of the beds. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not done for the garden season whatsoever. We're still building the labyrinth garden. We're going to be putting in some new water features, and we're going to be designing our balcony and creating a jungle type garden there as well. But with the existing beds, we have gotten them to a place where we can now focus on new projects. So let me show you all of the existing beds and what they're looking like now. Right when you come through my garden gate. Here to the left is my porch where I hung that stained glass window that you saw in episode 1. And then here I have what I call a circle garden. And in circle garden, all of my hydrangeas are looking full and beautiful. You can see that they're starting to form their blooms. Love it when those bloom. And we mulched and weeded and planted up all of the terrace beds. You can see my lilies are coming up. I have a bunch of really unique and beautiful lilies since this is called Lilybrook. I've got my supertunias, snapdragons. There's a black-eyed Susan vine that's going to be climbing up this trellis. And guys, check this out. I have this weeping pussy willow and I'm saving it from certain death. But look at all the growth that's on it now, guys. So I am nursing this little discount bargain plant. You know the ones I'm talking about on those racks, right, guys? That no one wants these plants, the island of misfit plants. Well, this one I purchased and I am bringing it back to life, so I'm excited about that. Over here in these terraces, you can see I've got all of my annuals planted in. And how pretty is this hanging basket, guys? This is a calibrachoa. They like full sun, and I just love the colors on this. In this bed, I also have coneflowers. I've got some hollyhocks back there, cottage garden favorites. I love those so much. And another one of my absolute favorites. This is an African lily, and I just think they are so gorgeous. I plant several of them in my garden because I just think they are so pretty. I think even before they bloom, they're gorgeous. They just create so much interest in the garden. Right now I have some little chickadee babies in this birdhouse right here, so I don't want to stay in this section too long because the mama gets very mad at me. As we walk down the walkway, you can see over here there's hostas, more bubblegum supertunias, which will fill in this area beautifully. My flax are just starting to bloom. They are bigger than ever this year. Dan is busy over there hooking up the watering system. And down here on this second tier, I have dwarf butterfly bushes. I love these things. They are just absolutely gorgeous, and they bring in butterflies, dragonflies, all of the beautiful things. So I'm so glad I planted them so close to the porch. But you can see the porch here. That is basically our favorite place to sit in the summer. So moving towards the deck, we have boxwoods, especially for winter interest around the deck. And then over here you can see Topiary garden looking beautiful, all mulched up and ready for the gardening season. If you guys are new to the channel and don't know this, we turned a broken down pool into a sunken garden, and then we repaved the decking around it, which happens to be my son's favorite place to ride his bicycle. Here is the sunken garden this week. You can see that the honeysuckle is starting to bloom and it smells divine. I can't wait till it starts attracting all the hummingbirds, and it does. I see them all the time on this plant, and I just love seeing them. Over here we have a beautiful climbing rose. Look at the blooms on that. Isn't that incredible? This pool actually had a deep end, so we filled in the deep end. You can see that whole video on our channel. We filled in the deep end, planted grass, put up the stone walls, created all of these raised beds, put in a fireplace, benches, the watering system, the whole thing. I just planted these roses. This was another plant that I saved from somewhere. It's doing quite well though. It got quite a large trim when I put it in here, but you can see that it's blooming and it looks good. This is the rose that we planted last week. More honeysuckle. This one has a red bloom to it. It's quite exquisite. The David Austin rose is still looking quite lovely and full of blooms. This plant is my pride and joy. I'm very proud of this plant. Let's go take a look at the shade garden this week. The rhododendrons have bloomed, guys, and I think they look incredible. And I'm very happy with how the shade garden is filled in. Now that it's all mulched, weeded, and just looking its best. I just love this garden. I never thought I'd love a garden that was just green, but it's proven to be one of my favorites. All along the deck here are black-eyed Susans, and when they bloom, it is so beautiful. And then over here, this is what we call lower garden. I'll show you a sweet little thing I picked up. Look at this old wagon, and I popped some snapdragons in there. I think that's going to be so cute when it all fills in. And then here is what we call lower garden. We need to trim this tree back, guys. This tree has just really grown. It's very happy here at Lilybrook. So it used to be that I could walk around this space with all the roses. But this is one garden that still needs a little TLC. We need to do a little bit of weeding in this garden. We need to trim this tree back. But I wanted to show you these roses because they look incredible. And that black-eyed Susan vine that I bought actually goes here. So I need to, the old lights there don't work anymore. I need to pull those lights off, and I have a new set of solar lights to put on there, and the roses behind me are sticking me in the back. But I did my best not to yelp. But yeah, this garden is also quite lovely, and I wanted to show you everything in bloom, despite the fact that we need to trim this tree. There's always something to do in the gardens. Always, guys. And yes, we do live in a town, so you will hear cars going by now and again. And here's our work in progress, the Potager. We've been working on this for several weeks, guys, but check out the moon gate. It's all in bloom. So some of the beds I've started planting up. This one has cosmos and zinnias. Some of them are awaiting me planting. So here is a vegetable bed, guys, that I'm going to be planting up. Hopefully today. But I wanted to show you this sweet fence that we found, guys. This antique fence is so beautiful. I am loving this out in front of the greenhouse. And of course, we're going to plant this all up. In the back, I usually plant huge sunflowers. So that's my plan for here. And we did actually buy enough of this. We were able to get enough of this fencing that we can do both beds. So I'm very excited about that. That's what we've accomplished this week in our gardens here at Lilybrook. Now it's time to visit a magical fairy tale garden.
As always, the full-length walkthrough of this garden is available on my channel with no talking. So if you enjoy the sounds of nature, be sure to check it out. I visit this garden quite often. I find it both magical and incredibly inspiring for my own gardens. The first time I laid eyes on this space, I thought that I had been transported to a magical land. The original creator of this garden was a famous florist in Philadelphia, and you can see that his adoration for gardening is huge. From the woodland areas to the pool to all of the beautifully curated rooms that he worked so hard to create. Even the interior of this historic home is breathtaking. There's not a spot in this garden that I wouldn't pull up a chair and read a book, have a cup of tea, or just contemplate life in. It's an incredible garden, and I feel honored that I get to share it with you today. It's called Meadowbrook. One of my favorite things about this garden is that it's not large. It's a small space, yet it's created in such a way that it just feels like you've stepped into another world, a fairy tale, really. I've stepped away from the world and all its problems, and I can find tranquility and peace in this place. It inspires me so much to bring these ideas back to Lilybrook and include them in my own gardens. And who wouldn't love to just hang out at this pool? I know I would. What an incredible space. This garden appears to be created from a hillside, and I can relate to that because we have our terraces and hillsides at Lilybrook. You start out at the beautiful stone house that's surrounded by flowers. Then you make your way down level by level, each creating its own garden room. This one in the middle is incredible. The way that they put that water feature in the center that just soothes you as you walk close to it. And then it has several entrances and exits, so you can decide where you want to go next. Do you want to walk through that beautiful pergola? Or do you want to walk down to the next level, where you can swim in that beautiful pool? One beautiful body of water just wasn't enough. Right next to the house, there's also a dipping pool. And I really want to build this at Lilybrook now. I never tire of the beauty of a garden. Each garden unique, just as special as the gardener who created it. A shovel, your paintbrush, tulips, roses, black-eyed Susans, your beautiful paints. Your garden is your art. Don't be afraid to color outside the lines. I loved walking through this garden with you today.
Welcome back, guys. I hope you enjoyed that garden tour. Now it's time for a much needed book break. After all that weeding and planting and mulching, I need a little time to just relax before I head over to the vegetable garden. So I thought we would talk about today's book, and I'm just really enjoying this book so much, guys. There's so much inspiration in here, not only if you're building a potting shed, but also just for the inside of your home and your garden. The photographs are beautifully shot, and I'm finding that there's just so much inspiration in here. The people they featured in this book are highly creative, guys, and I really am just loving everyone's different gardens and their homes, their she sheds. There's a little bit of everything in here. There is even a gypsy wagon in here. I'm gonna find it for you guys. Guys, it's called the Wanderer. I would love to have that in my garden. Well, to be honest, I wouldn't mind even traveling in that. I think that's so amazing. So guys, you might want to check out this book when you are in your own garden having a book break. Guys, it's time to get back to work. I'm in the potager and I have all this beautiful produce to plant up in here now that our potager is 95% complete. I actually would have started these earlier, but because we were working in this garden space, I couldn't. So today I'm going to be planting up these beautiful sweet peppers, butternut squash, what else? Beans, tomatoes, cucumbers, and so much more. So I need to get back to work in my gardens, and I want to wish you guys a beautiful day. I hope you have a little time to get out in your gardens today, and I'll see you next week for another episode of Through the Garden Gate. Don't forget to check out some of our other videos on the channel, and I thank you guys for being here. I'll see you next time. Bye!